definitely a way forward. Now I'd like to invite Matt Wakefield from EPRI, and EPRI has been working with so many utilities throughout the world, so that I'm really eager to listen to the different keys EPRI can offer for grid modernization.
Mr. Schomburg, sorry for the interruption, but our chair, he's got a very important meeting, an urgent meeting which he has to attend. So he's having to leave now, Mr. Darki Verma. So we'll let him leave and then continue with the proceedings.
Okay.
A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
For our chair, Mr. Darki Verma, Chairman, Central Electricity Authority. Thank you very much, sir, for being here with us.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Varma, my slides are available electronically, Mr. Varma, for you to review later. This will be a very exciting presentation. Thank you, Richard, for the introduction. There are so many things to talk about on this topic of grid modernization. And I'm going to partly evangelize some of the topics I mentioned this morning around the importance of the ICT and cybersecurity architecture for this integrated grid. Some foundational aspects, give some analogies, and then I'm just going to touch on an example of some of the research that we're doing in our cybersecurity area. This morning I mentioned a little bit about EPRI, but I just want to reinforce the value of opportunities like this and the value of collaboration. EPRI, we're an independent nonprofit. The work we do is for the public benefit and collaborative. We do scientific research across all sectors of the power industry, all types of generation, nuclear, fossil, renewable, environmental aspects of the power industry, transmission, distribution, customer, and end use. And the area I represent is information and communication and cybersecurity. And so that's what I'm gonna touch on here, again, recognizing there's a broad range of aspects. The work that we do is, and a real important, is our integrity in doing fact-based science. We do not advocate. The science that we do and the research that we do is intended to speak for itself to benefit the members of EPRI and also the public. We have over 900 employees around the world, about $420 million in annual research, and do work in over 35 countries, including India. This morning also I mentioned collaboration and the real power of collaboration, the intellectual leverage, bringing the best minds in the world together, and the financial leverage of pooling financial resources. The one cybersecurity project I'm going to mention, we have about 40 utilities working on that, and that's what we do. We identify common issues to work on. So in that example, if we've got 40 utilities, for every dollar one of those utilities invest, they're able to leverage that into $40 of R&D as an example. This is, again, just a picture of the value of collaboration and the international work we did. We were started about 45 years ago in the United States. These are global issues. We've been continuing to grow pretty rapidly around the world. 27% of our collaboration is international. And right now, the work we do in India is primarily in the generation area, but we do have opportunities, I think, here on the grid side, so I look forward to exploring those. So some of the key grid integration technology drivers for India, we've heard many of them already, and I'm just going to go through these pretty quick before Richard comes down and gives me a look. But peak demand and electricity reliability, clean energy generation and energy security, distributed energy resources and electric vehicles. I think we're hearing these types of themes and thinking about action-oriented technologies that can enable the smart grid, smart customers, smart cities, the foundational aspects of communication technology, the data analytics for the smart grid, electric mobility, renewable generation, the electrification, and the critical infrastructure, recognizing that from a security and resilience standpoint. These are all very important aspects. So getting into why is an architecture for an integrated grid important? When we think about any type of architecture, these are our earliest decisions. When you make them, they're the hardest to change later, and they're the most critical to get right, and they serve as a communication vehicle among stakeholders. The graphic I have up here If you can't tell, it's a very unusual looking window. So from an architectural perspective of designing a window, would be a challenge living in a world of change, where if a piece of the glass was broken, or you wanted to add a new energy efficient piece of glass, or replace it in the future, it could be challenging. So when we are making these decisions in the face of the rapid pace of change, it's important that we consider not only the performance of the grid, the modifiability and flexibility. Since we are living in a rapid pace of change, that's a very important aspect, the reliability and the security. This second graphic I show here below the unusual window is just an example of, hey, with standardized solutions, we can then create and gain the efficiencies of standards on having common sizes, frames, energy efficiencies. And so that right architecture is really important to pave the way for success. Wrong architecture usually spells some form of disaster. Looking at the grid, we've done a pretty good job on the power side of, I'll use just one example, and there's many, many examples of integrating solar PV at a residence. There's a lot of IEEE standards and so on to do that power integration. As the scale and the amount of penetration grows, the power aspects evolve and change. You're ending up with situations where locally on the distribution system you have power quality issues, where you have voltage issues, VAR issues. On large scale deployments like we're seeing in Japan and Germany and portions of the United States, you're seeing reliability issues where you may need to curtail that PV. So then what does that mean? Those challenges also create opportunities. This graphic here is busy. I don't expect you to be able to read it, but just the point is it's complex in that it's an opportunity to take advantage of the capabilities of smart inverters to do voltage management, VAR management, add intelligence locally, have distributed intelligence, manage those, and even at the back end using the Common Information Model and IEC standards for functions like grouping. And thinking about that up front, because these decisions we're making today are going to be difficult to change in the future, but if you architect it correctly, we can have some opportunities. Real quickly, I want to just touch on cybersecurity topic. One of the things that we've been working on is cybersecurity metrics that measure the effectiveness of a cybersecurity program. On this pie chart up here, I show various aspects of cybersecurity requirements, fairly mature, a cybersecurity framework that the NIST has developed that a lot of the industries in electric utilities in North America use. There's also the C2M2 is an acronym for Cybersecurity Capability Maturity Model to help utilities measure the maturity of their programs. But metrics is a gap. How do you measure the effectiveness of your cybersecurity program? And many utilities do this, but there is not a common framework across the entire industry. So we've been working for 3 years to develop these metrics. These are similar to grid reliability metrics like SAIDI, SAIFI, and CAIFI. Huge public benefit here. All this information is made publicly available. And it helps security leaders inform themselves where they need to invest in cybersecurity. It helps justify those investments. It helps track how well those security programs are working, and inform stakeholders, whether it's the internal stakeholders, their board of directors, regulators, customers. And so here at the highest level, it rolls up to 3 scores, a protection score. How effective are you in protecting your assets from cybersecurity attacks? How effective are you in detecting and thirdly, responding? So in summary, to try and wrap this up, some key takeaways that architecture, ICT and cybersecurity is the foundation to enable that technology. Standards are key. Avoid stranded assets, enable innovation. I like to say build for change versus build to last. In regards to, there's certain assets that you have that will be around for 30 years, but recognizing there's a lot of evolution and change. So understanding what aspects will be changing. Telecommunications, a strategic asset, I mentioned that this morning, to enable all these functions. Cybersecurity, can't emphasize that enough. Have an effective cybersecurity program. leverage tools and resources that are out there. There's a lot of maturity in this, but it does need to be migrated for the operational environment of utilities. And lastly, collaboration. The good news is we're all facing the same challenges, and we are working together and have a big opportunity to solve these challenges with electric utilities around the world and other stakeholders. So with that, the EPRI vision statement is together shaping the future of electricity, and I look forward to doing that with you. And lastly, if you have my slides, I just have example references with links if you'd like to download some of example EPRI reports, including the metrics and so on. So thank you very much.